You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
What's up, Black and White sports fans? John Matrix here, and I am back with another video. All right, folks, we're going back and talking about this whole Pittsburgh Steelers controversy. It has been big news, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, the management anyway, the owners, look very, very bad when it comes to this whole Antwon Rose Jr. situation, okay? And me and Rose had a live stream earlier today, and we were thinking, how many players are actually going to have the name of Antwon Rose Jr. on the helmets? Still, right now, we really don't know. But what we do know is that the players have rebelled and not honored the wishes of management. Quite a few of the Pittsburgh Steelers players actually did not have the name of Antwon Rose Jr. on the back of their helmets today. Now, in the case of Marquise Pouncey, he was on record saying he was going to make his own decision on who he's actually going to put on the back of his helmet, and he put the name of a fallen police officer on the back of his helmet. I have a lot of respect now for Marquise Pouncey. He put the name of Eric Kelly on the back of his helmet for this week. Now, Eric Kelly was a fallen police officer, and this actually, it says here, Eric Kelly is one of 3 police officers who were killed and 2 others who were injured in a 2009 standoff in the Stanton Heights neighborhood of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh police officers responded to a domestic violence call where a heavily armed 22-year-old man who was reportedly wearing a bulletproof vest fired at the cops from a barricaded house. Some of the wounded officers remained for a while there, where they fell because other officers could not reach them, with bullets continuing to fly over their heads. And Kelly, the fallen officer, he actually said, quote, "Tell my wife and kids I love them," before passing away. So Marquise Pouncey honors a real hero, a real fallen hero in Eric Kelly. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers owners, they're still saying that they honor and respect what the players put forth, because they were putting the whole Antwon Rose Jr. thing on the players. The players say they were given limited information, and I tend to believe the players in this case. Art Rooney II looks like a buffoon right now with this whole Antwon Rose Jr. thing. And I believe the only reason why they chose Antwon Rose Jr. is because they probably had a hard time finding legitimate cases of systemic racism and police brutality towards black people, and they just had to pull a name out of a hat. That's what I really think. But Marquise Pouncey and some other players now too, they did not wear the name of Antwon Rose Jr. on the back of their helmet this week. And I'm starting to gain some respect for some of these Steelers players, even though I think they were pretty stupid to not do their own research in week 1. We already know that Alejandro Villanueva, he put the name of Alvin Cash on the back of his helmet. Also, Big Ben Roethlisberger, he did not actually have the name of Antwon Rose Jr. on the back of his helmet, but he had an SJW statement on the back of his helmet. He put, "It takes all of us," what we saw in the end zones for the home teams in NFL games. He had that. And Cameron Haywood, running back James Conner, and wide receiver Deontay Johnson had "End racism" on their helmets. So they also did not put the name of a criminal on the back of their helmet. Okay? Now, it also says here that Stephon Tuitt and James Washington did not have any names on their helmets. Okay? So this is good, man. The Steelers ownership and management look like fools. Looks like fools. And Art Rooney II, and his people that work right beneath him, they cannot put this on the players. This clearly came from management. And now it's coming back to bite them big time, because now the players are rebelling against management. Now, I know there's probably still quite a few players that actually did have the name of Antwon Rose Jr. on the back of their helmets. Maybe they want to respect the Rooney's decision. Maybe they believe that Antwon Rose Jr. was a victim of systemic racism and police brutality. And if they do believe that, they're fools. He was a criminal. A criminal. That's why Alejandro Villanueva, Marquise Pouncey, all these other guys. That's why they did not put the name of Antwon Rose Jr. on the back of their helmets this week. This whole thing is completely falling apart. The ownership of the Steelers, you guys look really, really bad right now, because now the players don't even respect your decision making at all. We also heard it came from Mike Tomlin too. He looks like a dummy too. He needs to be better than this too. This is unacceptable for a multi-billion-dollar sports team to not do their research or not care about their research. You know, I'm glad that the players actually stepped up and rebelled against Steelers management. The Steelers management, they refused to take any responsibility for this, and they're trying to lay the blame on the players for this. Guys, I truly believe all this wokeness here, that really didn't come from the players. Most of this wokeness came from upper NFL management. So this came from the Shield itself, I believe, for the most part. I honestly do believe that, because I believe that the NFL owners, they feel like they need to show how woke they are so they can actually say, oh, we did something about systemic racism, when all they're really doing is nothing. I mean, putting the name of Antwon Rose Jr. on the back of the helmet, what is that really doing for race relations? It's not really doing anything, right? Nothing. You know, it's kind of like the NBA putting Black Lives Matter on the court. What is that doing? Nothing. It's just tuning out the fans. Now, like I said, some of the players still had the SJW messaging on the back of the helmets, but at least they were not honoring a criminal. That is important. I still don't like the SJW messaging. I really, really don't. But Marquise Pouncey honoring a real hero, I can get down with that. I really, really can get down with that. A fallen police officer that risked his life, that lost his life, trying to stop criminals. You know, because that criminal that was actually in the shootout that actually killed the officer, that probably could have easily been Antwon Rose Jr., who was a criminal who was involved in a drive-by shooting. This is crazy. Stop honoring criminals, NFL. You guys had a really, really good comeback game today with the Dallas Cowboys. I'm pretty sure people are going to be talking about that game for a very, very long time, but the level of wokeness that's still going on in the NFL is overshadowing a great ending to a football game. You know, I could be making a video right now about the Dallas Cowboys coming back from being down 21 against the Falcons, but we can't do that. We can't do that because there's still crazy wokeness out there. And the Dallas Cowboys game ending was epic. But we're not even talking about that because the NFL still has not learned its lesson. They're still getting woke. There's still with players kneeling out there. They still have in racism, and it takes all of us in the end zone. I'm assuming that those decisions are made by the teams themselves, because on Thursday Night Football, that wasn't happening. The Browns and the Bengals, nothing was in the end zones. No wokeness. But the wokeness was back for week 2. But it is nice, though, that the Pittsburgh Steelers players have rebelled. They have rebelled against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Art Rooney II looks like a moron. But I'm going to leave that right there for now, folks. Let us know what you think about all this in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to Black and White Sports, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.